All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a third installment of our Sticky Bleachers podcast. I'm Bobby here with you today.
And I am Corey, as always. How are you, Bob?
Oh, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am doing very well over here on this side of the Atlantic. Lots of exciting sports things going on in world sports, don't you know? The
Absolutely.
Australian Open is on, and nobody can watch it because it's on the other side of the world, and it seems like Australia can't be during the day at any time in any continent. Even in Europe, I wake up early in the morning and everything's already over, and I just can't imagine in the States it's any easier.
Yeah. It happens in a weird universe where we just see highlights and recaps.
It is, yeah. It's like when the Olympics are somewhere far away. You're like, I don't even know what is that happening today? Does that happen a week ago? Like it's very weird. Time gets very strange when you go that far away. But also here in Europe, at least in Western Europe, the big topic is rugby. We're coming up into the Six Nations rugby football round robin. I'm going to try not to keep putting on my accent because I feel like it's going to make everybody mad. I don't really mean to disparage.
Do you find yourself adopting an Irish accent when you're there? Do you ever slip into one?
I don't. And actually, I have to very carefully choose my words and make sure I always use the American versions of things because I'm very self-conscious about it. A lot of Americans will come over here and try to test out their Irish accent because they think they do a good one based on what they see on TV, but they will just crush you. And they will not be. They're not impressed with you. So I make sure. I even will have to make sure that I use the American word for things. Like if I'm talking about a car, I will make sure to say the hood and the trunk rather than the bonnet and the boot, because I think someone would go like, "What are you saying bonnet and boot for?" Or why did you just say let's take the lift up to the fourth floor? Why don't you say the elevator? Isn't that what you guys always say? So I have to be careful. You got to pick your words carefully when you live in another country.
Yeah, I would imagine so. There's a person that will remain nameless, but they lived overseas for a good amount of time, and they lived in London, and since have moved back to Iowa, and still has an English accent that they have adopted. And so I don't believe when this person speaks in an accent that they actually have an accent.
No.
I think they're making like a conscious choice. I
Definitely
don't think you can
are.
Yeah, so it's always a bit weird when you run into this person because, and I won't even be gender specific, but it's one of those things where you're making that choice every single time when you say a word to have a British accent, and I don't care how much time you spend in there. I mean, if you're down south for 20 years, it doesn't really. I don't think you're going to start talking with the drawl without making like a conscious choice to do so.
That's right. There you go. The way to test that would be to get them yelling, make them very mad or make them very scared. And you see if they're screaming in terror, and they'll go back to their default accent. You can guarantee it.
Yeah.
I've met travelers who spend lots of time, and most of them are annoying, like 19-year-old pukes who like, oh, well, I finished high school, and then I just wanted to see the world, and I just don't talk like my Missouri accent anymore because I spent 18 months away from Missouri, and now I talk like this. My friends always... I'm like, okay, you 19-year-old puke, go back to Missouri and have fun there. And you try that accent out in Missouri. Yeah, you try that out in the... Yeah, like, you get the Ozarks. You can't take the Ozarks accent out of the kid from the Ozarks, no matter how much they try to put on an accent. But no, I at least think that when you hear that, it's false, or it's intentional, because people in Ireland even will have to, if they come from a rural part of Ireland and they come to the big city of Dublin, they have to adjust their accent to make sure that the Dublin people don't judge them too harshly, because you can really are identified a lot by what your accent is, so they will tone down their accent to try to sound like the big city folks. Very weird.
So it's not like here in America where the Southern accent, they're very, very proud of their Southern accent. They don't tone it down for anybody. In fact, they actually go the extra step and create stupid words.
That's right. You amp that up. And you just, we, like Midwesterners, we don't really think about what we sound like when we go to New York, because New Yorkers would be less likely to go like, oh, look at this hayseed here coming from the Midwest. Like a New Yorker probably would just be like, I'm walking here. Get out of my way,
And I would love to see a New Yorker use the word hayseed just to describe something. Like, It's like 1930, and it's like, oh, it's hayseed over here.
Look at this AC. Yes, but anyway, the big sports news over here is rugby time. They have their own kind of football, and it looks a little bit like American football. There's some resemblance there, but the big story is the Six Nations rugby tournament, which is a round robin tournament between, as you may have guessed, 6 different nations in Western Europe. Let's see if I can remember them all. We've got Ireland, which is Republic and Northern Ireland combined. Then we have Scotland, England, and Wales. I know they're all on the same island, but they are 3 different countries that compete. And then just to make the continental folks feel better, we have France and Italy. So they play a round robin. Every team plays all 5 other teams, and whoever wins the most points. It's kind of like the NHL. You get a point for winning, but then your margin of victory is a tiebreaker. Anyway.
Gotcha.
It's just a big tournament between the nations. But in Ireland, they were announcing who was going to be on the starting team because it's a national team, so it's like an all-star game. And there were betting lines on who was going to be on and who was going to be off of this all-star team that they were putting together. And it was a popular thing at the betting parlor.
Popular bet?
Popular bet. Yeah, of course I didn't know any of the names of any of the guys. Because the big rugby hero of Ireland retired a couple years ago. Got his book deal, got his TV deal. He's doing fine for himself now.
Oh, good. What was his name?
His name I know. His name was Brian O'Driscoll, but they called him Bod because B-O-D. Gotcha. One of the Irish conventions is to come up with short nicknames for people. So they called him Bod. Yeah. So there was lots of "In Bod We Trust."
Gotcha.
Things
that's
that's very good. That's very good. But
so it's kind of similar to our A-Rod or D-Jacks or what we do with players.
Yes, that's right. K-Rod. Yes.
Yeah, just any Rodriguez is just too long to say. We just gotta make it a Rod.
That's right. And Adam was too much, so we got to go with Pacman, just straight up, because that's just silly.
That's one of the rare situations where the nickname is longer than the actual name. Adam Jones, Pacman.
So you can call me Adam or you can call me Mr. Jones. I don't think so, Pacman. Sorry. Bark, 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 bark,
I would have
bark,
gone a Counting Crows reference there if he was going to go with Mr.
Yeah,
Jones.
that's right.
So
that's right.
Been...
He's probably too young to know that reference. I bet he doesn't know that song.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Pacman, he's up there. He might be a big fan of Counting Crows and Company.
I don't know. I guess maybe he actually might be about our age. I don't know. He might have been in college when we were in college.
Well, yeah, I think he's older than us. But do you think he likes Recovering the Satellites or August and Everything After more?
I don't know. August and Everything After is a little bit hoarder than Recovering the Satellites. Counting Crows, they got a little bit Ben Foldsy for Recovering the Satellites. Ooh, burn on Ben Folds. That's right. You heard it.
Well, I'm talking what Adam Jones likes. He might like the Ben Foldsy Counting Crows.
Maybe.
I mean, A Long December. He might shed a tear every time he hears that song. I don't know.
It's a great tune. Maybe Adam Jones is one of those guys who sits down in front of a piano and will just play the 6 notes of Brick over and over again. And
maybe
hey ladies, look at me. I can play the 6 notes of Brick. I don't read a lick of music. I'm like Paul McCartney, man.
Are you saying Ben Folds is the piano equivalent of Dave Matthews? So what Dave Matthews is to guitar, Ben Folds is to piano.
Ooh, that's I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Because I can tell you the guy that sits down at a party and starts playing Crash and everyone assumes he can play guitar. I've seen that many times out in the wild.
Okay, so it's not so much about what the artists themselves do; it's what people who imitate the artists do.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It has nothing to do against the artists themselves.
Sure.
It's
okay. I thought you were just trying to slam Ben Folds and Dave Matthews, and I'm totally on board for slamming those guys. I'll do it all day and all night. I was just surprised that you would be on board of slamming a fellow artist, but I have no problem doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's all the extra people associated with it. So
now, which one of them?
It's usually the fans. The fans ruin the music more so than the artist, I would say.
That's right. As Lars proved during the Napster scandal, that the fans were the worst part about Metallica. Downloading Sanitarium.mp3.
And it's kind of funny that they were right the entire time. Metallica was right.
That's right.
It was this is not a good thing that's happening to us in the music industry, and they were right.
Do you think Pacman Jones had Napster?
That's a good question. So all these things we need to get, folks. Can we get Pacman Jones or Adam Jones on the podcast here? We have a lot of questions for him. I know he's not doing anything. He's not playing football
Which
right
Counting
now,
Crows album?
Which Counting Crows album do you like? Did you have Napster?
Did you have Napster?
If so, what'd you download?
Did you download Counting Crows on Napster? And did you
These
download
are hard pressing questions.
Did you download some of the fake tracks that I put on Napster that were mislabeled System of a Down stuff?
I'm sure.
He may have had them. Maybe.
Thanks for deceiving the internet. No one lies on the internet, Corey. I don't know why you'd choose to do that. So.
All right. Do you want to get to some sports news?
Sure.
Let's
we've been talking about sports, haven't we? Counting Crows, Ben Folds, and Adam Jones.
That's right. I'm sure those guys are
and rugby
sport fans. And rugby, that's right. Well, I guess thinking of picking and betting, and we weren't putting money on things, but we have been picking the playoffs, and we made some picks on the games last week. So let's go over the games that we picked last week, see how we did, and then we'll see how we're doing overall in the playoff picture. So Green Bay at Arizona. I picked Green Bay. Bob said Arizona.
And I watched that game, and for about 3.5 quarters, I thought the Packers were going to win that game, unfortunately. And some miracle plays there at the end. Rodgers with his course. I mean, everyone watched that game. So with the 2 Hail Marys at the end to go into overtime, I was both shocked and not shocked at the same time because I've seen it so many times, just the miraculous, like, throw it up. Oh, look, he came down with the ball. What a surprise. But it was even more surprising, though, to see that Arizona get the ball first off in overtime. And then that huge play to Larry Fitzgerald, Carson throwing across his body. And Larry just seemed to keep running and running. I was standing up and yelling for him to score that touchdown. But it was really exciting. It was even more exciting to see that play and to know that the Cardinals were going to win. But it was a hell of a game. So I don't know if you watched any of the recap or anything over there.
I did watch the recap. I did my usual next day watch the NFL Michael Irvin breakdown recap, and then a couple days later I watched the more condensed version where they pull. I think it just takes them a couple of days to put that together, where they take the radio calls or the TV calls, depending. They kind of take the best call for different plays. So that's kind of that's the way I prefer to watch it. But I'll take Michael Irvin in a pinch there at the beginning. It looked like it was a nutso game. Would have loved to have seen it live, but sadly that one was a little bit too late for me. Let's stay in the NFC. We had Seattle visiting Carolina last week. Now, Bob picked Seattle Magic because he thought that they were just living a charmed playoff life here. I went with the favorites in Carolina. What did you see in that game, Bob?
Well, that was 2 different games right there. It was a tale of one half versus the second. So Carolina came out and scored 31, I believe, in the first half, and Seattle looked dysfunctional on offense. And they came out in the second half and really were the only offense in the game. And then Carolina actually looked like they were kind of suffering from not having their foot on the pedal. So it was a tale of 2 halves. The Panthers were able to hold off the Seahawks. There was a play that the Seahawks, they lined up to go for it on 4th down when they could have kicked the field goal. That would have helped in their comeback bid when they were down. I believe they were down by 10 with less than like a minute and a half left. And if they were only down by 7, obviously it would have been a little easier. But it's one thing going into the NFC Championship game I would look out for if I was a Carolina Panthers fan. I definitely would want them to be in a close game and not a blowout, in their favor going into the game. But we can talk about that more in a bit. But it was a hard-fought game. I thought maybe there was some magical, mystical stuff going on with Seattle in that second half. So I was pulling for them just for my own personal record. But it was also kind of nice as a Vikings fan to see them go down. So, anyway.
So the football fairies were not able. Now, would you say, Bob, would the Seahawks be the Ben Folds of the NFL or the Dave Matthews of the NFL?
That's a good question. They might be like, what is it, Ed Sheeran, right?
Ooh, Ed Sheeran. Ooh, the Ed Sheeran of the NFL.
They might be him of the NFL.
Okay, all right. Well,
the hot new,
the
redhead flavor of the month.
Yes. Ooh, man, don't come over to this side of the world and start talking bad about Ed Sheeran. They will have your head, my friend.
I know. Don't talk bad about him
and
his little guitar.
Don't even bring up that Hosier guy, or you're going to be in big trouble. Let's go over to the AFC. Kansas City.
I'll make musical enemies.
Kansas City at New England. I said KC. Knew they were underdogs, but I just like the look of the plucky Plucky Chiefs, and Bob said New England, the favorites, probably the logical choice, and as it ended up, the correct choice in kind of a snoozer of a game, Bob. Am I correct in that?
I didn't get a chance to watch that game, but yeah, it seemed like that Kansas City made a push towards the end, but yeah, it seemed like New England was in control of that game from the get-go. I did notice that there were quite a few drop passes early on by Edelman and Amendola, and so that could factor in. But I know it's really popular to hate on the Patriots, and for a long time I joined that bandwagon. But it's really kind of fun actually to watch them. I love kind of what they're doing this year. So I'm rooting for. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm rooting for them because again I like to switch things up a little bit when it comes to championship games and everything, but what they're doing is quite impressive. So
yeah,
especially with the amount of injuries that they've had and stuff. And but that's all I'll say on
so, but it's interesting that they're not a team. So the NFL has had teams that were fun to hate before. You know, we have the Falcon teams of the late 90s with the Dirty Birds and everything, just like the players who play the bad guys or the heels of the NFL.
Yeah, the heels.
Yeah, why are the Patriots in general not a team that we love to hate? We just the world hates them.
Well, I think it's because of Boston and New England and their boisterous nature.
Okay, all right. So it's because
I think
the culture
again,
of
it's a
cities.
lot like Dave Matthews Band and all the other bands. It's the fans that actually make it easier to hate the actual thing the fans are rooting for.
So New England, you're saying, is the Lars Ulrich of the NFL.
Yeah, I would say that New England is the Metallica of football.
The Metallica of football.
Yeah, I think they're the Metallica of football. There was a time when everyone loved them.
Yes.
And there was a time when everyone was like, okay, I've seen that Dog and Pony show before. I don't want to see it again.
Yes.
And now that they're back doing it again, it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, Metallica's out again.
And it's like a pleasant surprise. Yeah, like, oh.
Yeah, it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, it's nice. They're playing some of the old stuff. They're playing Master Puppets and everything. So.
Yes. All right. Well, now that we know who is
I think we might be onto something here with these musical analogies.
I know. All right. Well, let's go on. Let's see who we have. We had Pittsburgh at Denver. Now, our simulation, we had some of the players who ended up sitting out this game playing in our simulation, so maybe not totally believable. But Bob said Pittsburgh was going to win, thinking about D'Angelo and Antonio Brown making some noise. I said Denver was going to win, wondering about the health of those guys. The banged up Steelers were just not quite able to overcome, Bob.
Yeah, Big Ben was questionable up until I believe like an hour or two before the game, but the Steelers won 3/4 of that game. I would say even 3.5 quarters of that game. It was a late fumble by Toussaint and Pittsburgh was driving to kind of put the nail in the coffin there. And credit to the Broncos, they capitalized on that. And I believe McManus, their field goal kicker, had 5 field goals in the game. And so definitely Pittsburgh suffered from not having Antonio Brown. I think that game would have been quite different if Antonio Brown was in there and healthy. Big Ben looked good though with the torn shoulder ligament that he had. It didn't seem to bother him at all. Actually, they went deep on the first play of the game. It was a really good game though, and we'll see what happens here with Denver and New England. That defense is good, but also that it can get tired. I guess it looked a little tired there at times playing versus Pittsburgh. It was out on the field a lot, so
yeah. All right.
I think that's crucial to all the teams involved, obviously, but. We'll see how it affects them this week.
Right, yes. And again, our simulation game that had a Pittsburgh offense closer to full strength than the team that actually hit the field. We do have to record those earlier in the week, not to get too inside baseball on our Sticky Bleacher simulations, but we have to record those with limited information. That had a 42-24 blowout by Pittsburgh. So our Tecmo Super Bowl simulation, not really on the ball for that one. So picks overall for this playoff season so far, between myself, Bob, and our simulation, I am 6-2 in the picks. 6 wins, 2 losses. Bob is 3-5 of the 8 games we've had, and our simulation has 3 correct picks, 4 incorrect picks, and then of course there was the infamous and forever remembered tie between the Green Bay Panthers. I almost said Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, the Green Bay
Washington.
Panthers.
The Green Bay Panthers.
It sounds more intimidating.
With all of these teams moving around the NFL, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I would say the Packers they're the strongest chance to move. I'm pretty sure.
I would say
Green Bay doesn't want them anymore.
They don't have the deep roots. The fan base is just so fickle. It's all the retired people moving north. It's like you just can't depend on them to buy those season tickets. I don't understand. So
bunch of bandwagoners.
I know, that's right. Those Packers fans, notorious for that. And I'm finding myself as a Bears fan not being less angry at the Packers and Packers fans. And I think we've talked about this before, but it's just
this I don't understand.
I know,
and we'll have to go to the comment boards on this one here and hear what some other Bears fans have to say.
I know it's just hard for me to not like them right now. In previous years, they've had lineups that were easier to be mad at, but I don't know.
I get you there, and in many ways, they're the NFC equivalent of the Patriots, I would say. But it's one of those things I love in the NFC North that I can hate all the other teams in the NFC North besides the Vikings, except the teams that are playing the Packers. I can root for the Bears and the Lions every time that they play the Packers.
You can't really be mad at the Lions, Bob. They've been kicked.
I know. No one ever really gets mad at the Lions. I actually met a Lions fan once. I met a Lions fan once. It was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, in person, and they admitted it this year.
Whoa.
But it's always one of those fun things, like when they're not playing any NFC North rival, like, you hate everybody, but as soon as the Bears play the Packers, I'm a Bears fan. And as soon as the Lions play the Packers, I'm a Lions fan. And it's one of those things I enjoy about the NFC North. So
yeah.
And even in the playoffs, it doesn't really. I never find myself rooting for the Packers in the playoffs. So.
Well, thankfully, no worries on that anymore here, Bob. So let's talk about the AFC equivalent of the Patriots. The Patriots visiting Denver this weekend, AFC Championship game. Patriots playing a rare road playoff game. First in quite a while for them. I believe the last time they played a road playoff game was at Denver.
Yes, versus a different quarterback, but still.
Yes.
Road game nonetheless.
That's right.
That game was very interesting. It was Brock Osweiler's coming out party, you can say, beating a true opponent and everything. But Peyton Manning and Tom Brady obviously have met many, many times in the playoffs and many, many times in general. But I don't know. I think the way that New England's playing, they have Edelman back, and I know they lost Mayo for on the defensive side of the ball, but I got to go with New England on this one. I just think their offense is more high-powered. I think they have more healthy players. Just my personal opinion.
All right.
What do you think?
Well, I would actually be inclined to agree with you there, Bob. It's gonna be hard for me to pick Denver, even being the home team, even with the kind of offense they have. I feel like sinister forces are at work when it comes to that. I don't know if we have like a damn Yankees situation happening here. I'm not really sure. But I am also going to have to go with New England because I need to preserve my record. So we are going to pick together there on New England.
You need it. Well, and I think also the game versus Pittsburgh last week was that indication. I mean, Pittsburgh came in there really beat up and didn't have Antonio Brown, and Big Ben was limited coming into the game, and they didn't have D'Angelo Williams as well. And Pittsburgh still was punching him in the face and moving the ball kind of with ease for most of the game. So I would only imagine that New England going in there, used to the pressure, used to the situation, will dial up something that will end up having them win the game.
Yes, and I think Gronkowski is going to find himself open just one or two too many times for the Broncos to keep up. He's going to fight himself open, get a couple of critical third down conversions that is going to just cement it. And it's going to be sad because I would like to see Peyton have another shot.
I would like to too, and I very much agree that if Peyton were to go to the Super Bowl again, it'd be great. It'd be a great story for him to go out, on a high note. But also, the Patriots have Steven Jackson, who's, he's been on losing teams for quite a while. So he was a late season pickup, and so if you want to find some nice little nugget to cheer about with the Patriots, at least Steven Jackson's getting his shot. So
yeah, all right. Well, our simulation game that you can find on our YouTube channel had a very tight one. Patriots and Broncos going at it. Broncos gave it up on a turnover in the final minute when they were driving with a tie game for a chance for a field goal. They were right on the edge of field goal range, and they gave it up on a fumble. Goes into overtime. New England wins the toss. A couple of plays later, they get down and kick an easy field goal for a 20-17 win. So our simulation game has the Patriots winning that one. That was an exciting game, Bob.
It was, and I think you'll have an exciting game on Sunday. I don't think it'll be a blowout by either team, but it should be fun. We'll see if it comes down to a field goal in overtime.
And I looked up something that I mentioned in that I wanted to clear up a little bit. I made a reference to the infamous Patriots quarterback drop kick field goal. I thought it was Drew Bledsoe, but I looked it up. It was Doug Flutie. Even a few years back before Drew Bledsoe, Doug Flutie kicked a drop kick field goal.
There we go.
So
that I do remember.
Yes. But it was the clip I looked up was not in widescreen. It was in full screen. It had the different graphics that when you look at it, even a football game that's like from 5 years ago, you're like, whoa. Is this from the 70s? Look at those graphics; they're terrible.
They put that nostalgia filter over it, so
I know. Yeah, it's like it's watching a football game through Instagram.
Yes, NFL films the original Instagram. So.
and the Patriots are the Metallica of the NFL. Let's go on to the NFC Championship game. Should also be an exciting one with Arizona and Carolina. Both teams have worked hard to get here, slogging through the playoffs. Carolina showing some potential here. What do you think, Bob?
Well, I think this going to be, the Super Bowl winner. I think the team that comes out of this game is going to go on and win the Super Bowl, I believe. Ooh. So having to call it, I think it all depends on how the game goes, not to get too John Madden on everybody here. But if Carolina kind of plays like they did last week, if they're blowing out Arizona in the first half and they kind of have to ease up in the second half, I think Arizona has the offense and the weapons to overcome any lead that Carolina may have. But if it's a close game, it's a coin flip. I mean, really, no pun intended with the last week's Arizona Green Bay game, but it's depends on the health of everybody. But everyone on the team is healthy. I mean, John Stewart is, I believe he's healthy and coming back for this game. But if I had to pick a team,
and you do,
I would say let's go with the Cardinals.
Bob says the Cardinals. I'm going to go against you there, buddy. I am going to go, as I did last week, with the Panthers at home. You have the extra insight of having watched a little bit more of that Tale of Two Halves game. I was only, I caught the story. I caught the storyline of the massive first half lead and then just not needing another point, so not bothering to score another point in the second half.
Yeah.
So, but all I can go on is that, and I feel like a team that can put up 31 in the first half, after this week's adjustments, I feel like they could put 31 up in the second half too, and I don't know if the Cardinals can make a score like that.
Yeah, and the game that the Cardinals had against the Packers, I mean, that was a sloppy offensive game for the Cardinals for the most part. They did score when they needed to, and that could very well be the case here. I mean, they're running into an even better defense than Carolina, but I think both teams have the ability to put massive numbers on the board. So it being a shootout, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, although Seattle has a good defense, and we all know what Carolina did last week versus them. But it was just how Carolina kind of came out in that second half that made me wonder if they could close out a game and stuff like that. So there's experience on both sides of the ball, you can say, but I don't know. It'll be a really close game. I don't want to say I think Arizona's just going to crush them.
Yeah.
Because it could very well be the Panthers going. But I think any team that wins this is going to win the Super Bowl.
All right. So. Our simulation had the Cards win. Went with you, Bob, in a tight game, 14-7.
That's not necessarily a good thing.
Well, not necessarily, but so far you've been picking better than the Sims by virtue of the tie that you.
Yes, by virtue of the tie.
So we'll see how that goes. Now, Bob, which of these two teams do you think would be the creed of the NFL?
Ooh, the Creed. Well, I don't know if there's a Creed that exists here in these four teams. I don't want to say that the Broncos are the Creed of the NFL, but
Yeah. No, but they might be the closest to the Creed of
they
the
might
NFL.
be. We do know that Carolina they're doing Creed bombing, which is singing Creed songs to players and reporters at random moments, which I kind of enjoy. A little bit of like a Rick roll, but actually just with Creed.
Yes,
So
yes.
kind of like that.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it's always nice when bands like that have a chance to kind of come back into the zeitgeist a little bit. I'm sure Rick was happy when all of these millennials suddenly knew who he was.
Right, and I'd just be really happy though if Creed didn't come out and start playing more music. That they can come back into our minds and everything, but I don't want them playing music at all anymore.
Yeah. So. All right. So you say like Mark Tremonti, just live on your island.
Live on your island.
Yep.
Scott Stapp, live in Florida. Do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
I'm assuming that's where he lives. I don't know, but
yeah,
it is also kind of fun too to go back and just kind of like try to remember some of their songs.
Yeah.
And everything. If you're trying to think of like words.
Somewhere right now, Mark Tremonti just heard that, and there's a single tear rolling down his cheek on his island somewhere. He heard us.
Well, he's cried many tears, so it's okay. What's one more?
I think Scott Stapp probably cried more. I think he has said so many times in his lyrics, in his rhymes.
Yeah. If Mark wants to come onto the show, he's more than welcome. We can always bring him on. So,
do you think he's friends with Pacman Jones? Do you think Mark Tremonti and Pacman hang out?
Well, this is another question to ask Pacman when we get him onto the show.
What's up with you and Mark Tremonti? What am I reading here?
Yeah, what's up with you and the Tray Man? So.
Yeah, so I don't know if I was going to Creed bomb somebody. I don't know what I would go. Would I go with with higher? But like,
can you take me higher? And of course, you have to do it in the Scott Stapp voice. Of
course. But you should or do you do something like heavier, something from like the My Own Prison, Yeah.
Well,
like a little bit heavier. Or like one.
Yeah.
I'm just,
That's the other thing too. You can kind of go like the Peanuts teacher or the Muppets band. Just go like, right. You just make up words and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's. You can also do a modern James Hetfield from Metallica. You can do that same.
Yes.
Man, these guys.
Any of those things.
What's up, James?
But yeah, Creed bombing. So I mean, maybe just by association, the Carolina Panthers would be the Creed of the NFL. But I don't know if that does them any justice. I don't know if that's right to do to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, well, maybe one of these days, sometime in the off season, we'll have to find out which team. We'll have to find the spirit band of every NFL team.
Yeah,
we got 32 teams. There's 32 rock bands in the world, right, Bob? Maybe like
now,
somewhere.
I think so. Somewhere.
Like Great White. There's one. I think we have a couple more. There must be some.
Dokken.
Yeah, there we go. So we got two.
Bret Michaels, Poison.
Well, that's two. There's two right there.
You can count them as one nowadays, but yeah.
Well, all right. Well, so what about Sebastian
Bret Michaels
Bach
and
Skid
Poison?
Row? What about ones that are touring separately? Those
are two separate
Dennis
entities.
DeYoung and Styx now. You got two touring acts.
Yep. And then you get in the debate of who's better. Is Sebastian Bach better now, or is Skid Row without Sebastian Bach better? And I've never seen either, but
I saw Skid Row without Sebastian Bach.
Yeah.
It was.
What were your thoughts?
They were better than the opening act, which was Nikki Sixx without Motley Crue.
Gotcha. Well, we saw Vince Neil without Motley Crue.
Or no, yeah, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. That's right. It was not Nikki Sixx. It was Vince Neil without Motley Crue. I spoke incorrectly.
Yes, that was not a good show. That was actually the infamous show where he held the microphone out and wanted everyone to sing the words to the song, but no one knew the words, right?
Yes, I believe so. Was it Girls, Girls, Girls? No,
something like that.
Everyone was like,
anyway,
supposed to. Oh, yeah, sorry, they were paying attention. I was just I was too drunk to.
It was just dead air.
Dead air. All right, let's talk about some non-playoff related news, Bob, shall we?
Sure. How about it?
Well, actually, let's real quick. I have a couple of comments about the playoff results. A couple of commenters from Yahoo. Thank you, commenters on the Yahoo pages. Gave their picks of who they would like to see.
Awesome.
Commenter tells us they would like to see Carolina and New England because I don't want to hear Omaha, Omaha for 60 minutes in the Super Bowl. I thought that was quite nice.
That is good.
Peyton Manning, very famous for shouting Omaha, as a
Yes.
a nice one before. Maybe they can get one of those signboard things with like big pictures of celebrities instead of Omaha, or just pictures of a map of the city of Omaha. I don't know. I'd be a Council Bluffs guy, but that's our Iowa bias. On the same vein there, Matt also wants to see the same result: Pats versus Panthers. It snows, and Brady will tuck a ball under his arm, claim he was trying to throw it. Then Belichick will check the stolen tapes of Newton running practice and will know every route the star QB will be planning. Then, when the temps drop below 10 degrees, Brady will hand out certain balls. You know the rest, ... And in overtime, Kraft will be laughing while sipping the finest scotch because he has the refs in his pocket and knows the commissioner can't do a damn DAM thing about it. Final score, who cares? Thank you, Matt, for the
that was a good one.
Very, very specific pick.
If that happens, he's got to get hired by some sports program.
We got to find Matt. If that Matt Stradamus of the NFL.
Yeah, that's the other thing too with the Patriots is that if they win the Super Bowl, even go into the Super Bowl, it's kind of a big FU to Roger Goodell and the league itself. And I kind of like that because the whole Deflategate stuff. I mean, there was obviously shady things that happened, but there's tons of shady things that happen in the NFL, and we hear about very little of them.
Yes.
And a lot of things are swept under the carpet, and so it's kind of like the Patriots aren't necessarily the evil empire. It seems like the NFL itself is the evil empire, and all the teams are kind of like rogue nations and stuff trying to, be on top.
Wow.
So it seems like that if the Patriots even go to the Super Bowl, and if they win the Super Bowl for sure, they'll kind of just big FU to Roger Goodell in the NFL. And that'd be kind of fun.
I think you have a start on your NFL fan fiction, Bob.
Yes. Oh, well,
I think
this opens the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And this is how we get.
You could tie that into anything, or you could create your own fan fiction mythos.
Absolutely, man. Well, now we know what to do when sports start to slow down. We'll start writing our NFL fan fiction.
That's right. So. Shout outs to all you NFL fan fiction writers out there. I'm sure you're out there. Chime in and let us know.
Chime in and let us know.
Maybe we can become the official podcast of NFL fan fiction writers. Hi, guys.
Yes. Hi.
and ladies.
Wow. New ideas. This is an awesome podcast. Well, we're doing great.
Keeping with the fan fiction theme, the Chargers this week trademarked the name LA Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers. Now, a lot of people wondered if this is just a case of just mass trademark grabbing, which happens a lot, and often you see it in the media. A movie franchise will trademark a name for a movie that never ends up happening. Video game names get trademarked for things that never end up happening. Certainly, this could be something. It's definitely a cheap enough investment if you're a multi-billion-dollar franchise to just spend a couple thousand to grab a trademark name. So you might as well grab a bunch in case something happens.
Yeah.
But some people thinking it might lend some credence. Rich from Yahoo also says, did he also apply for the trademark Second Fiddle in L.A.? Ooh.
Already with the dig.
I know.
It's nice to see some Rams fans out there, though.
Yeah, I don't know. They're either Rams fans or they're Charger haters because there's also a lot
of the two.
Yeah, both teams have reputation of having ownership that's less than interested in winning. I would say. Would you agree, Bob?
Yeah. Chargers probably less than the Rams. They've made like a concerted effort in the past to put together a winning team.
Yes. Well,
and it didn't seem like they were just trying to sabotage their own team, but.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, they're looking for that big time money. I don't know. Maybe they'll go up there. Maybe they will be second fiddle. I have a hard time seeing the Chargers, at least to start, being second fiddle to the ramshackle Rams that they're going to bring over to L.A.
Well, I think it's the nostalgia aspect of the L.A. Rams. I think is what a lot of people would latch onto in the bandwagon.
Are they going to get the colors back? World. Are they going to get back to the bolder blue and the the brighter gold color?
I don't know if they've released anything like that yet, but I'd imagine so. sure they try to capitalize on 1994 as much as possible.
Yeah,
so
because they got a darker blue and a more gold colored gold. It looks more metallic gold. But I like I like the almost looks like Michigan's maize and blue, like a real bright yellow with the bold blue.
See, the thing with San Diego, or the Chargers, I'll say, but I love the Chargers. I always like, they have great uniforms. Phillip Rivers is a great fantasy quarterback, and they always seem to have some type of useful assets in the fantasy world. So I always find myself rooting for one or more Chargers in a year. And they're kind of like the Vikings in many ways, where like I'd like to see them do well. I'd like to see, like, if they were in the championship game or even in the Super Bowl, I'd root for them and like to see them do well. So I guess I wonder if it's more or less that they don't have a fan base like the situation in St. Louis, or if their owner just wants to capitalize on the bigger market. And it might be the latter of that situation, which makes it easier for them to be second fiddle or easier to hate. But I think, I don't know, San Diego, I consider a pretty laid back area.
Yeah.
And I usually see people, it's not like the St. Louis games where there's no one in the stands, or even when they were losing.
Yeah.
You know?
They need to just they make San Diego a destination from LA. Like, come on down here for the weekend, guys. Get away from the gunfights. Get away from the celebrities. Come on down to San Diego.
Do what Anaheim did, just Anaheim of Los Angeles.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit longer. Maybe they build a high-speed rail line. Maybe there already is one. But it can't be much farther to get from LA to San Diego than it is from like downtown LA to out in Anaheim by car, right?
No, it's really not. Yeah, I think it's only like a little over an hour from LA to San Diego.
Yeah.
And you can comment, please, and let us know the exact travel time.
Yeah.
With traffic, please, everybody. Let us know.
Yes.
But still, it's one of those things, like, I don't know, the Chargers, they must stand to make a bunch of money, even with sharing a stadium with the Rams. Otherwise, why would you consider sharing a stadium with another team?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, LA is better than London. On that same vein, Magic Monkey says, are they going to merge the two teams into one? Maybe they get a contender if that's the case. Yeah,
that's true.
That's another dig, though. Man, so much negativity.
I know.
Internet, what is wrong? Why are you so hating?
Well, that's why people love the internet.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can hate things.
Yeah, I guess. Getting out of football a little bit, let's talk some college basketball. Both of us being Iowa homers, Iowa boys. This year, the state of Iowa has been a place where 3 different number 1 teams have come in and lost to 3 different Iowa teams. We had the Northern Iowa win over, was it North Carolina? Earlier this year. Then we had the Iowa upset of Michigan State, and then now we have Oklahoma came to Hilton hashtag Hilton Magic. Shout out to all you Hilton Iowa State basketball fans out there. Hashtag Hilton Magic. That's like
what?
That's like the Ohio State University. You have to say hashtag Hilton Magic. Iowa State upsets Oklahoma, and on the thought of the state of Iowa is a place where number 1 teams go to lose. User Brandon says, Iowa is a graveyard for everyone's dreams. Ooh, ouch, Brandon. I wonder if Brandon hasn't experienced the hashtag Hilton Magic.
Well, it hasn't really resulted in anything substantial. It's just been little bits of magic.
It's been magical.
Just enough to keep your dreams alive, but then they eventually die.
Oh, man, ouch.
That might be one of those things that's funny because it's true.
And user Sean H says, good to know for the polls also. Remember 4 years ago, Iowa gave us a Rick Santorum upset. So that's what we get to leave with today is a Rick Santorum
and I believe
reference.
And a Michelle Bachman too, I believe, if we go back even farther.
Ooh, man. Haven't heard those names for a long time and hoping not to hear them for a long time to come.
Yes, thankfully we haven't heard those names in a long time.
Well, with thoughts of Rick and Michelle in our heads, I think maybe that's where we'll leave it for you this week. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, let us know what you think the spirit band of every NFL team is in our comments section, and we'll think of some more stuff to talk about next week.
That's right. Thanks for listening. I would love to put that in there. You can grab us on Twitter at Sticky Bleachers. You can grab us on YouTube. You can grab us on Pod-O-Matic. Find our Sims. Find us on Twitter. Do let us know on that if you do happen to think of spirit bands for those 32 NFL teams. I'd be very excited to hear about that.
Absolutely. It'd be a good one. But Everyone have a good weekend and enjoy the games, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye bye.